So I was chatting to one of my pals in the pub the other night, Mark, and I said, Mark, what do you think about the fact that next year in 2025, DWP will be wanting access to all your bank accounts, will be, checking through your details. And he said, oh, I don't need to worry about that, Eric. He said, I've never claimed benefits in my life. DWP won't be interested in me. Now, Mark's always been quite well paid. He's recently retired. He's 66. And never had any time out of work, never had to claim any disability benefits all his life. So he's not really connected in with the benefit system, doesn't know a huge amount about it. And he was quite surprised actually when I told him, now that he's 67, and although he has lots of personal pensions and work-based pensions, which seem really well off, he also has a state pension. And what Mark didn't realise is, state pension is a benefit. In the same way that job seekers allowance is a benefit. So, with job seekers allowance, you need to have paid national insurance to be entitled to it. The same with state pension. It's a contributory benefit. So Mark was under the impression that because he had quite a lot of private pensions, that he didn't come under the scope of DWP's bank account checks. Unfortunately, it does, and any of us who are claiming state pension benefit or what we call state pension will fall under the same remit as well. It surprises a lot of people. Now, I'm only 56, but if I was at state retirement age and I was claiming a state retirement pension, then I think I'd find this quite intrusive, and the reason for that would be that with state pension, there's not a huge dependence on what your income is. So it's a contributory benefit, as we know, and you need to have paid national insurance to be entitled to it. However, even if you're a millionaire, you're still entitled to it. So I kind of think that the DWP saying what they're trying to do is stop fraud is it doesn't really fit with most state pensioners. Now I know, so the DWP have said that they've got two reasons they're doing this. Okay, so the first one is to verify that people don't have undeclared sources of income. Now that doesn't really impact the state pension because it's not means tested. So you can have any level of income you like and it wouldn't affect the amount of benefit that you get. But the second reason is that you're not claiming benefits or state benefit that you're not entitled to because you're out of the country. So I suppose if you're out of the country, you need to declare you're out of the country. From checking the bank accounts, they can verify, if you're 9 months on the run and all your shopping's done in the Algarve, then they're potentially going to ask questions about whether you are based in the Algarve or you're based in the UK, and whether your tax position's correct. But that feels like a secondary concern to me. If this really is about stopping fraud, increasing revenue for the inland revenue, then I wonder whether including people who just get state pension is the right thing to do. Many of you will wonder whether this is the right thing to do for any benefit. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. So this is a big change. So it's not just that they're checking them two things. What they're also doing is doing data matching. So where in the past, if you were claiming housing benefits, for example, they'd ask you for bank accounts and details of where your income is, and they could scan them bank accounts and get various bits of information out of them. Now what they'll be doing is they'll be looking at what bank accounts you declare, looking at what bank accounts are kind of under your name, what's been declared with other government departments, what's been declared with the local council, and be cross-checking all these things. Now, I suppose there is a risk there that, say you're a pensioner and you're claiming pension and credit, and you fill the forms to the best of your ability. However, they come across a Bradford and Bingley account from 30 years ago that you'd forgotten you didn't know you had. Are you going to feel when they challenge you about this that you're being accused of fraud when actually it was an oversight? Now, I'm not saying they will, but there will be a lot of legitimate concerns about this where people feel that they've got to do a lot of checking, go finding old bank statements. It's putting quite an onus on a lot of people really to validate everything before they make the declarations for the DWP to start checking. So it is a big change, and some people are saying it's the thin end of the wedge. If they do in the future decide that state pensions become unaffordable, they want to means test it, then this is a perfect way to do that, isn't it? So I've always said that I can't see that state pension at any point will become means tested, because if it does, it's hugely expensive. However, if this is all done with AI, links into bank accounts, dragging down huge amounts of data, and then the analysis is done by computer, maybe it won't be overly burdensome, and maybe this is a kind of way in the future for the state to reduce the costs of mean testing, because mean testing is a very expensive and bureaucratic thing to do when it's done by humans. When it's done by AI with massive sources of data across all bank accounts and all tax centres and all departments, maybe it becomes a much cheaper exercise and more possible for them to do. So they're my thoughts anyway. So we're looking at next year here now, and what we need to think about in terms of preparing for this change is making sure we know where all our bank accounts are, getting our records straight, because when DWP asks us where our money is and what kind of bank accounts we've got, we need to provide the answers. Last thing we want is to slip up, miss something out, and then when they do their automated analysis, do lots of calculations, they come back to us and say, hey mister, why haven't you claimed or declared this particular source of income? They do say potentially that there will be quite a few people who it runs the other way for, where people have declared a certain set of income a while ago and the money has gone down and down and down, and once the DWP validate what's going through the bank accounts, they'll be coming back and saying, you are entitled to some additional money, so that your benefits will correct themselves and you will be getting more in terms of benefits. Now that won't affect people who claim just state benefits, but potentially it might claim some particularly more vulnerable and particularly very old vulnerable people who don't keep up on top of the records and maybe haven't done an update on their finances with the DWP for quite some time. Anyway, it's quite a divisive thing. There's a lot of chatter on the internet about this, so I don't know what your thoughts are, but I would love to hear them. So let me know what you think. Cheers now.